Breaking news in the NHL this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, coming off of the Kevin Hayes trade with Pierre-Luc Dubois to the Kings on the horizon. The Montreal Canadiens have acquired Alex Newhook from the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for the first round pick, which is 31st overall, a second round pick, which is 37th overall, and defenseman Gianni Fairbrother. So the first round pick that came from Florida, which is 31st overall, the Canadiens' own second round pick, as well as defenseman Gianni Fairbrother, a decent defensive prospect in the Montreal Canadiens system. Alex Newhook, a former 16th overall pick in the I'm going to pull it up here. The 2019 draft, 16th overall. Let's go ahead and get the numbers going here. I had to really scramble for this one. Let's go ahead and get started on the breakdown. Alex Newhook, a part of the Montreal Canadiens organization, 16th overall pick in 2019. He's 22 years of age from St. John's, Newfoundland, had 30 points in 82 games this season, 33 in 71 the season prior. A little bit of AHL experience, but for a 22-year-old on a stacked Colorado team where he's not getting much ice time, to have scored 66 points in 159 games so far in his career. I am a big fan of Alex Newhook, and this is a huge pickup for the Montreal Canadiens. They're saying, forget it to Pierre-Luc Dubois. They're cutting ties with him. It's not going to happen. And they go out and get Alex Newhook from the Avalanche, a team that doesn't seem to have the room for him anymore either. So I was ready to go all the way for the Dubois trade, but it's not coming yet. So it is Alex Newhook of the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Florida's first, which is 31st overall, Montreal's second, which is 37th overall, and Gianni Fairbrother. We'll pull up the stats on him in just a moment. So Montreal Canadiens, they had an abundance of draft picks. They now no longer have Florida's first or their own second. So now in this draft, tomorrow's draft, instead of first, second, third, they now just have first, third. Is it worth it to pick up Alex Newhook? I do think so. He has a good two-way game. Yes, Slim commenting that. Let's just pull up the quick numbers on the card on Alex Newhook before we look at a bit more into Gianni Fairbrother. It's more the two picks, I believe. Colorado is going to get two good picks in a deep draft. It's unfortunate the Canadiens are giving up those picks. I would have liked to have those selections. I was ready for Dubois to drop any moment. Alex Newhook, looking at his small-ish sample size, a couple seasons so far, 44th percentile of projected wins above replacement. He's above average for goals and primary assists per 60. His even strength defense is around league average. His finishing is all right. Everything else is pretty average. Just his even strength offense has not been ideal. But again, his time on ice has been that of a fourth liner. Dubois to LA, not official just yet. So his time on ice has been that of a fourth liner. He has not had much opportunity to prove himself. And even with that, he's been doing quite well in his limited role. So Newhook to the Habs. Let's see what people are saying over here. Newhook, 22 years of age, pending RFA to Montreal. The Avs get 31st, 37th picks, and they get Gianni Fairbrother, who is a 22-year-old right-handed D. Interesting move. I believe Newhook was on offer to the Canadiens at last year's draft. Former 16th overall pick, turns 23 in January, coming off of 14 goals, 16 assists. And Eric Engel is breaking down some of the stats there, as we have a couple of trades already with more on the way. Let's go ahead and pull up the stats on Gianni Fairbrother. Fairbrother, a defenseman that a lot of people were excited about, I think, in the Montreal Canadiens organization. He was drafted in the third round of 2019, same draft. He had only come into Laval a little bit. So this last year, I was hearing a lot about him in Laval, actually in 2021-22. I'm not sure why there's not stats in 2022-23 for Gianni Fairbrother, but and Kent Hughes is Alex Newhook's former agent. Didn't know that. So Fairbrother, was he going to make the NHL? I don't think he's ever going to be much more than a top 6D. So I think it's really just the two picks here. It's more than a contract, but it's not much more. It's kind of like Ian Mitchell and Alec Regula in the Taylor Hall trade. So it's essentially a late first and an early second to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Alex Newhook, someone who has done quite well in a limited role. So if I just want to bring this back here for a moment, he's been injured all year. I was going to say, because I know that he's still with Laval. I just want to bring up Newhook's numbers in terms of his ice time as well. As a Canadiens fan, I understand those who may be a bit reticent about this trade, not super sure of it just yet. Is he all that? It's a good question. He's a former first-round pick, and I think he's doing good things in his very limited role. The guy was playing what? Let's see. He was playing under 14 minutes of ice time per night, and that's on average. The last 5 games of the season, the last game of the year, he played 14 minutes. Aside from that, 9 minutes, 750, 646, 639. So when the team was fully healthy, Newhook was barely doing anything, and he was still able to put up decent enough points. 30 points in a full 82-game season. I like Newhook a lot. He can play center. He can play the wing. He's going to be turning 23 in January. He is something that the Canadiens will kind of like a Kirby Dach, right? It's not a reclamation project, but it's also a prospect who maybe is kind of falling out of grace / not getting the ice time that he should be getting. And now he can come to a team where he will get that. Hey, Garachocho, welcome to the stream, buddy. So Alex Newhook, big prospect in the 2019 draft, the 16th overall pick to the Canadiens for a late first and an early second. The age-sensitive trade Montreal's in the market for once it became clear PLD was focused on LA. There you go. So here's a better representation of Alex Newhook, as my image here on him wasn't fully updated, but Jay Freshers that he has right here has the last 2 seasons combined, 39th percentile. His production rate at 5v5 has been decent, but wasn't able to establish himself higher in the Avs lineup. Here's his projection card for next season. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, Dvorak, I could see Dvorak moving, especially after Newhook comes in now. Suzuki, Dach, Newhook. So here's his projection card for next season. It's going to be very different playing top 6, top 9 with Montreal versus 4th line with Colorado. But I think he's going to have a good step forward this season. I like what he's shown in such a small sample size. Well, it's his signing rates, but he's a restricted free agent. Umeki. He's a restricted free agent. So when you acquire the rights to a restricted free agent and it's a young player like that, it's essentially you just got to sign him. That's all you got to do. If he's an RFA who has been giving trouble, or if he's a UFA, there's no guarantee. But a young RFA coming locally now, moving from Colorado to Montreal. He's from Newfoundland, I believe. Is it Newfoundland or is he from Nova Scotia? From Newfoundland, from St. John's, Newfoundland. So I think that he's absolutely going to sign. I'm not afraid of that. It's not just for his rights. It really is. Oh, that's the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade that I'm getting ready to go for whenever that drops. So I like this trade very much for the Canadiens, breaking it all down here. I think that he's done very good things in a very limited time frame. He has the potential. He's shown it. He was drafted that high for a reason. He's doing well on a good team. He's been around very good players. He has a Stanley Cup ring. Now put him on Montreal, a team that is being mentored by Martin St. Louis, that has a lot of other pieces like the Kirby Dachs of the world, like the Slavkovskys of the world, like the Caulfields of the world, who are young but also producing. We're not just talking about rookies. We're talking about people who are in their 2nd, 3rd, 4th season, and Newhook fits that mold exactly. He's going into his 3rd full NHL season. He's played 2 full years. So he's going into his 3rd full NHL season. Montreal has the money, has the lineup space, the roster space as well. This was a big surprise. Absolutely. It sounds like the insiders are saying that they knew about this for a little while. At least he was being offered to Montreal. But this is the first time that he is, that I've heard his name been rumored to the Montreal Canadiens. So I love it. I don't love giving up 2 picks in a deep draft. Picks 31 and 37, that's going to hurt. Definitely in the future, it's going to come back. Even if Newhook does great, you're going to look at this trade in 10 years and say, oh man, would it have been nice to get X and Y at 31 and 37. In this deep draft, those are going to be 2 good picks. Now, could the Canadiens make a trade to get back into that range? Absolutely. I think the Canadiens could do that. I'm not afraid, but it would be nice to have those picks. Does it maybe not fit the Canadiens' timeline? Perhaps. Let me get the 22 going on 23-year-old entering his 3rd season, as opposed to drafting more players who are going to be 3-4 years away. And that is what I hate. Absolutely. I don't love giving up those picks. I don't. It would have been nice to get a lot of players at that range, especially when we're going to be watching the draft at 31 and 37, seeing who drops and saying, oh man, that could have been us. That could have been the Canadiens. But I think next year, when you see what Alex Newhook does, I'm very curious to see what kind of deal he'll get signed to. When we see what Alex Newhook does, I think we'll be able to sleep a lot easier with this trade. So let's go back to it just one more time. For those of you who are joining, we're at 56 people right now. Alex Newhook has not done anything too wild, but look at his ice time. 6 minutes per night, 6 minutes per night, 750, 9 minutes per night. He was averaging almost 14 minutes of ice time per night through the season, yes, but when the team was fully healthy, he was not playing a lot of ice time, and he still put up 30 points this season and 33 points last season. He has a Stanley Cup ring. He's been playing around the right people. He has a lot of experience now. Did I close his... Yeah, close his Hockey DB page. He is Gianni Fairbrother traded as well. Let's see it. Playoff experience, not much in the playoffs, but again, very little ice time. Still has his Stanley Cup ring. 16th overall pick in the 2019 draft. Sully, I don't know who we is, if you're Colorado or Montreal. So Newhook, the Canadiens now get Caulfield at 15 and Newhook at 16. I'm sure the Canadiens have been looking at him ever since then. So the 2019 draft was a good one. And now the Canadiens get another prospect from that class, one who has been showing very good things. Give him full ice time in the AHL. He's above point per game. In 2020-21 and 2021-22, he has 20 points in 18 games in the AHL. Overpay, well, it depends on how you see it. The Montreal Canadiens give up 2 picks, yes, but if this guy is going to reach his potential of the first-line talent, top 6 forward, 50, 60 points when given top 6 minutes, I think it is worth the 2 picks. Vinny's saying, all right, let me go back over here. No, wrong spot again. I keep going to the wrong Streamlabs page. Excuse me. Vinny's comment here saying 30 points in 82 games played isn't something to brush off either. It's not a completely bad trade. It's not like he scored 17 points and we say, he was on the 4th line. He still got 30 points. He has still been good. I wouldn't say it's the craziest overpay, but I do see what you're saying, Sully, in terms of, man, those would have been 2 good picks in a very good draft, and it's going to be sad to look back at who they could have been, most likely. The full trade was Alex Newhook, his RFA rights technically, traded from Colorado to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Gianni Fairbrother, who's been injured all of last season, decent prospect in the defensive side. He is likely nothing more than a top 6D, in my opinion. I like him a lot. And the 31st overall pick, Florida's 1st round, and the 37th overall pick, Montreal's 2nd round. So a 1st, a 2nd, and basically a player, just a contract, in exchange for Alex Newhook. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Would those players have more value? Potentially, but they are 3-4 years away. This is going to be a deal in which we say we want to be competitive sooner rather than later to fit the mold of everyone else. Caulfield, the 22, 23-year-olds of Caulfield. Doc, Slavkovsky's already young enough. Add in another 22-year-old who's turning 23 in January. This fits the timeline a bit more. Victor thinks it's an awful trade. We had another small forward that offers nothing on the defensive end. I wouldn't say nothing. If we pull up the attributes, not the attributes, the JFresh card here. Let me see here. I wouldn't say he's elite defensively, not at all. But I would say to be in the 45th percentile of even strength defense as a 4th liner, I don't think that's too bad at all. I think he is more of a two-way guy, and I think given the more ice time and more opportunities, he'll be able to show his defensive side a little bit more. So I wouldn't say he's a defensive liability. I wouldn't say he's anything incredible defensively either, but I would say there is more to come. No, so look, this is interesting. So it is against the 32nd percentile of competition. So the competition that he's facing, it's not just 4th liners versus 4th liners. He's facing the 32nd percentile of competition. If he was facing 4th liners, it would likely be, I would say, in the 15 to 20%. 32 means he's playing against the top 3rd, which is usually the bottom 6. Yes, he's not being matched up against the 1st line very often, don't get me wrong, but he's facing the 3rd line just as often as he's facing the 4th line, I would say. Now, again, it's still a small sample size. It's still bottom 6 numbers, but that is what we have as of now. Comment here saying, Newhook is a stud. He will get all the ice time he needs to break out in Montreal. Do you think the Newhook trade means we won't trade for Dubois? Absolutely. No way that the Canadiens are going to be picking up Pierre-Luc Dubois now. The Canadiens are working on more deals from what I've been hearing, according to Dave Pagnotta, as well as the possibility of moving down from 5th overall. I would think the Canadiens would be looking to trade back into this draft as well. As Terrence comments, maybe this means Montreal trades back in the draft. It could be. That could be the case. Gianni, just a throw in. Yeah, that's how I see it, Vinny. Isaiah likes this trade for the Habs. Tony thinks it's an awful trade. Tony, I'd want to hear more from you. What do you think about this one? Terrence also saying Montreal can trade back for someone like Wallinder, who's a defenseman, instead of trading up for Will Smith. I could see that. Habs trading picks with Detroit, perhaps, Keith. I could see that. Paid a lot for a third, fourth line center. Well, he's been a third or fourth line center on one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NHL the last 2 seasons. I don't think that he's going to be playing fourth line with Montreal. On the Canadiens, he's going to be playing middle 6 at the very least. So I don't think you need to be afraid of, man, this is his ceiling. This is what he's been. Keep this in mind. He's 22 years of age. He's a former first-round pick. He's point per game plus in a small sample size in the AHL. And he has scored 30 points in back-to-back seasons, playing like 6, 7, 8 minutes a night more often than not. Some nights due to injury, as the Avalanche have dealt with a lot of injuries, he's played much more. That's why he's averaged over 13 minutes per night the last couple seasons. But I do think that once Newhook gets into the lineup and shows what he can do, a lot of people, including you, Tony, I think you're going to say that, okay, you know what? I'm willing to give him a bit of a chance here. How has he been in the playoffs? Very small sample size as well. 1 assist in 7 games last season. I can't say too much about Newhook in the postseason. I can't just yet. The full trade is that it's going to be the 31st and 37th overall selections in this draft tomorrow, and Gianni Fairbrother to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Alex Newhook. Again, Victor, he's a third liner now. He's a third liner today as a 22-year-old on a very good team. I think that he will, especially if he's staying on the Canadiens long term, there is no way that he is not a top 6 forward. That's what I think. How close is Dubois to LA? It sounds like it's pretty close, but it's just being held up by the extension and the sign and trade. It's taking a little bit of time right now. Yeah, I agree with you here, Miles. He's 22. He's got potential. He's more than just a third liner. And good, Tony. I like what you're saying here. Maybe he will impress us just like Kirby Dach did. When Kirby Dach, hold on a second. Let's remember this. I remember being one of the people who did not like the Kirby Dach trade. When Kirby Dach was traded to the Montreal Canadiens, what had he done? What had he done with the Chicago Blackhawks, right? Let's bring it up. Kirby Dach. Kirby Dach was coming off of a 26-point season in 70 games. 26 points. People were disgusted. This guy's a bust. Why is he coming here? But he goes on to score 38 in 58, which is an 82-game pace of a 54-point season as a 22-year-old in his first year in Montreal. So I think it would be a very good idea to treat this Newhook deal similar to how we treated the Dach deal. Let's wait and see to see what he can do with the ice time, with the confidence, with the coaching, all that good stuff. Yeah, no extension in place just yet, but I'm sure it's coming soon. When to use, everybody. Thank you, Rory. Victor, if he gets to top 6, I'd see him better on the left wing with the center. We hopefully draft to number 5. I could see that as well. I could see he's played on the left. He could definitely be on the left. Now the question is, do the Montreal Canadiens draft at number 5, or do they trade back to try and recoup some draft capital? Right? Dach steal, Newhook steal. I sure hope so. Ladies and gentlemen, as we're at triple digits in here, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for all the breaking news and analysis in the NHL as we're getting into the off season. We'll be live streaming the draft tomorrow. We do NHL 23 franchise mode, career simulations, and much, much more. So if you enjoy this, you'd enjoy everything on the channel, and you'd also enjoy checking out the Discord server, link in the description, where we're always discussing hockey. Data, you might as well stay live with all the news coming out pretty much, eh? Terrence, Newhook should become the second-line center behind Suzuki. I don't know. Dach fits well there. This can also allow Montreal to trade up with the 5th for Fantilli, as was rumored earlier. Depends on what they'd be moving, right? The Habs out here collecting 2019 picks like they're Infinity Stones. That's a good one. That's a really good one. I would like to move back to Philly's pick to get Leonard, Dvorsky, Reinbacher. That would be good. You can't lose. You can't lose when you're taking one of those guys at 7 or 8. If there's a team that really wants to trade up to 5, if the Canadiens are trading down, I'd be disappointed with trading too far down. But the Canadiens trading down to 7 or 8, staying within the top 10, I would be okay with that. I would be okay with that. The Hayes trade, yeah, that happened earlier today as well. Jeremy, welcome to the stream, buddy. Carlson, I would be shocked if he falls further than 3. He'll be at number 2 or number 3. Wake up, buddy doesn't like the trade. Well, we just did a whole discussion on it, so I don't want to rehash everything. But I got to say, I like it for both sides, but I like it more for the Canadiens. The Avalanche, I like it because they get pieces that will help them down the road. They're great now. They don't need to have young players getting wasted away on the fourth line when they can get value that will be actually ready to play when they need them to play, when they have their current core aging in 3, 4, 5 years. Remember when we thought the Florida pick could be Connor Bedard? And now it turns into Alex Newhook. You know what? Not bad. The Ben Sherratt trade turns into Alex Newhook. Not bad, right? Not bad. The Avalanche, yeah, they also traded Justin Barron. Now it turns into them getting Alex Newhook. Why the first and a second? Well, it is a late first and an early second. And it is the first they got from Ben Sherratt, if you think about it like that. But I think that it's the cost that you got to pay for a guy like him. Newhook is worth it, I do believe. You know, when you think about the Kirby Dach trade, the Canadiens traded even more for that with Romanov, and then they traded for the 13th, and they traded the 13th and flipped it. They paid more for Kirby Dach even. So this is even less of a payment for Kirby Dach, and this is someone who has similar potential as he has. Jack also reporting here the Devils are engaged in trade talks with multiple teams about Igor Sharangovich. Sounds like a sign and trade is likely per Dave Pagnotta. Did they actually do it? Yes, they did. Alex Newhook to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for the 31st and 37th overall picks and Gianni Fairbrother. You are delusional, Slim. This is one of the deepest drafts in recent history. Trading for Newhook means we're for sure not drafting Mishkov. I don't think the Canadiens are going to take Mishkov. I would like him. I'm not opposed to taking him. I just don't think that the Canadiens will take him. But if they did, I would not be opposed to that. Let's go back to the Twitter world. Anything up last? Anything new here? I would love if the Canadiens took Mishkov, but I just don't think they will. Anything Dave Pagnotta reporting there? Newhook is an RFA. Fresh start helps to unlock some more of his potential. Jay Fresh put out his some stats here. Alex Newhook. I wasn't able to put a thumbnail and all the stuff for this video as I usually do, but I will be doing it sooner rather than later. Smith, Mishkov, or Leonard are the only choices. If the Canadiens are picking at 5, it depends on who's there. Really depends on who's there. What's a player comparison for Alex Newhook? Hard to say. As of today, there's not. It's hard to find another young player who has been doing as well as he has in such limited numbers. What is his type of ceiling? I don't know if I could give you a player comparison, but I could tell you that I definitely see him as being a 60-point guy as a top 6 forward. Now, assign that. Sorry, I didn't see your next comment. Play style. I think I'd call him a two-way forward with an offensive flair. That's what I would say. Why would the Kings want Dubois? It depends on who they're trading out, because right now it would be tough to make that fit. Josh, found your channel for NHL 22 and 23 tips. Stayed for the franchise series. Will be joining live stream tomorrow night. Your NHL knowledge is on point. Thank you, Josh. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you very much for saying so. I appreciate that. Crossfade says it would go against Hughes' philosophy of taking the best player available. If Michkov is there at 5, you take him. That's true. I just don't think the Canadiens will. It doesn't sound like they're staying there at 5, right? I don't know if they're going to be there at 5 anymore. A first and a second in one of the best drafts in the last decade feels like a bargaining chip move for tomorrow. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense. I think the Canadiens are, again, as I'm saying it, I think they're willing to trade back and recoup some value while jumping on an opportunity here to get Newhook. Kotkaniemi similar to Newhook, I could see that. Different type, bit of a different play style, but I could see the numbers being similar. Alex Tongue, that's a good one as well. That's a good comparison as well. I got to be honest, I know a lot about Alex Newhook, but I can't say I watch the fourth line minutes of West Coast Avalanche games very often. Where would I see Newhook in the lineup next season? We could break that down in just a second. Lego Rocks thinks this is a great trade. Yeah, Lego's good. I think this is a great trade as well. So if we look at the Canadiens right now, looking at their roster chart. Hold on a second. Where are we looking? Depth chart. There it is. So if we look at the depth chart here for the Montreal Canadiens, Caulfield, Suzuki, Anderson. I don't think Monahan's really going to be top 6. I think Doc, Gallagher, and then maybe even Slavkovsky would probably be in there. Third line of Newhook, Dvorak, Guryanov at the moment makes sense. Fourth line, probably Monahan Evans, Armia type of thing. But that depends. I think Hoffman's going to get moved. I think Dvorak's going to get moved. I think Newhook is absolutely in the top 9. And I could see him getting into top 6 minutes because the top 6 locks are Caulfield, Suzuki, Anderson, and you would think Doc and Gallagher. You would think. So that 6th spot could be Slavkovsky, or it could be... That's true. Raphael, Harvey-Pinard. There's a lot of other players who aren't here. Habs are not qualified. Oh, I didn't know that they announced that. So Guryanov's not there. If Dvorak's not there, if Armia's not there, Hoffman's not there, that changes things a lot. I think Edmonton's likely on the move as well. So that's going to change things for the lineup a lot. But Newhook on the left wing on the 3rd line or on the 2nd line is where I see him most likely at the moment. So Newhook, it was updated here. Newhook now added to the Montreal Canadiens. He is in the cap friendly here as an RFA, correct? Yeah, there he is. Meanwhile, over on the Avalanche, they have a little bit more flexibility now to say, now we don't have to sign a 4th liner for $2 million or whatever he would cost. We can actually sign some league minimum guys and then go ahead and spend some money on our 3rd line and our 3rd pair D and stuff like that. So again, they only have 7 forwards, 5 defense, and they have their goalies. So they need 1 more defenseman at the very least and another like 5 forwards with their $8.5 million that they have right now. So they're still having to find a little bit more in that sense. Yeah, Raphael Harvey-Pinard would be in there as well, RHP. Yeah, would not be surprised. We're definitely going to have a live stream this evening for the award nominee teams. The Hart nominees versus the Norris Trophy nominees versus the Selke Trophy nominees versus the King Clancy Trophy nominees. We're going to have a tournament on NHL 23 this evening as a live stream, but we're doing a lot here for the trades today. Hayes, Newhook, and likely Pierre-Luc Dubois on the way. Habs aren't done trading yet. No. Per Frank Saravalli, the Kraken are going to let Carson Soucy hit the open market. They had cordial discussions, but at this point, no indication they're keeping him. I am a fan. Yes, I am. It's unfortunate that the trade that they have to give up 2 good picks in such a deep draft. Very unfortunate. But when you think about, let's say, 10 years from now, if Newhook does become that 60-point top 6 guy, even if he did get traded for 2 NHL caliber players at 31 and 37, I think that Newhook just fits the timeline better here in Montreal, as opposed to, yes, getting 2 good pieces, but they're 3, 4, 5 years away. Eric Johnson. No, Eric Johnson's actually being released, I believe. Eric Johnson, I believe, is being released. What would you do if a significant trade happens during the award nominees live stream tonight? Oof, we'd probably have to cut it and come back to it. I don't know what we'd do. Hopefully, I'm just going to cross my fingers that it doesn't get to that. What would be the haul to move from 5 down to 7 or 8? I don't think it would be a ton. It would probably be a 2nd round pick. Usually, it's probably like a pick in the 30s because already that pick at 7, likely, or 8 probably has a pick in the late 30s. So I would think the Canadiens, if they move down from 5 to 8 or 5 to 7, they would recoup probably like a late 30s type of pick. No, I heard that they were releasing Eric Johnson. They were not going to be re-signing him. This trade makes me confused. I'm in both ways. It's a good trade and a bad trade. Yeah, I can see an argument for both sides, for sure. There's risk as well. But as I said earlier, think about this as we thought about the Kirby Dach trade. He was coming off of like a 26-point season. People were disgusted. What? Give up Romanov? You give up a high draft pick? It was what they got from the Islanders, the 13th overall pick, right? The 13th overall pick and Romanov being moved and all that. But he ended up working out on a 50-plus point pace. Now we're going to see a similar thing, but for a player who's shown even more with even less ice time, but on a better team. So that is going to be very interesting. Players getting traded at the draft, definitely going to see DeBrincat getting traded, I think. For sure, yeah. Doc is 6'4", different type of player, for sure, absolutely. I'm not trying to compare their play styles or anything like that. I'm just saying, think of this as a player that you're paying for the potential a little bit more than you're paying for what they've done, right? And it does make you feel better, as Ben says, when you consider that first came from Ben Sherratt, right? It's not like it's your first-round pick. The Canadiens still have their first. At this point, after this trade, I didn't think the Canadiens would trade down, but after this trade, I would not be surprised if the Canadiens make a small trade down, staying within the top 10, but trading down in some sort of way. So I think that's about it for this trade. I like it a lot for the Canadiens. The Avalanche is just... They get a couple picks for when it doesn't help them today, but it helps them a lot down the road when they're going to need those picks to be in their lineup like 5 years from now. Canadiens could surprise us for sure. Crossfade. Hobbsy has been a fan of Newhook for a long time. I think it'll work out. I agree. Crossfade. Appreciate your thoughts. Appreciate a lot of you being in here this afternoon. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the discussions. We'll be live for sure when the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade drops. Any other trades as well. Breaking news and analysis right here on the channel, as well as live draft coverage tomorrow evening. We'll be live tonight no matter what with our NHL award nominee simulation on NHL 23. But yeah, I like what you're saying here above and beyond. Suzuki, Doc, Newhook, Monahan, Dvorak, Evans. Those last players, not as much. I would think that Dvorak is likely on his way out, and Evans, I don't see him getting above the third line. Like, if you really, honestly, I see it Suzuki, Doc, Evans, because I think Dvorak is out. I think Monahan's more fourth line, and I think Newhook's going to the wing. So that's how I see it when you look at the center depth. No problem. Alex Brinkett wants to go to Detroit. I can see that happening. Yeah, the Canadiens have too many centers right now, but I think that they're going to be moving somebody else. Trading down with Philly to get their 7th and 22nd would make sense. There you go. Olivier with a good point there. Tu prends le 5e, fais un échange pour le 7e et 22e pour avoir Alex Newhook. It's worth it. So there you go. Merci, Olivier. You could potentially get either Leonard or Benson. You still get a high-value prospect, yet you were able to pick up Newhook and still recoup some picks as well. I'm excited to see what Kent Hughes does from here. As of now, I like the trade, but I'm just kind of thinking, it's too bad that we have to give up those picks. If we can get some more picks back, this trade becomes even more of a win. But regardless, I do see it as a win. I'm very much excited to have Alex Newhook in the organization. I can't wait to have him on board. Ladies and gentlemen, leave a like. Be sure to subscribe. We'll have more live streams as breaking news continues to happen. Also, we will have live draft coverage tomorrow evening, as I already mentioned. Hopefully, maybe the DeBrincat return increases now. Thank you, everyone, for being here this afternoon. I appreciate all the discussions here in the chat. Without that, it's just me talking to myself for 5-10 minutes. We're able to go over a half hour because of all of you, so I appreciate your involvement in the chat. Have yourselves a great afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking very, very soon. And enjoy this exciting off season. Take care, everybody.